Welcome to The Magic of Coffee with Jordan and Alex. We are a podcast about all things nerd culture. This week, we talk about The Last of Us. We got our fun guys. Let's get into it. So, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. We hung out today. It was actually pretty fun. Got to try on some shoes. Oh, I have big news. I can't remember if I told you this, but obviously no one listening knows this. So I'm a big advocate, or not advocate. I'm a big fan of Mad Rock. And I might actually call Mad Rock out, but it's fine. They don't listen to the podcast. I've been trying to work with Mad Rock for some time now, just to put their logo on my videos and then just, promote the fact that they're, working with me. I don't want anything else after that. Most Mountain does that. Best Chuck this side of the Mississippi. Ucraft does that. Best Pants this side of the Mississippi. Humble Bags. But Mad Rock and I were just going back and forth, and they were just like, no, we don't know, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, what the fuck? I literally I don't want money. I don't want gear, blah, blah, blah. And it kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. And also, they are not the best distributors. So I have to order everything from California. And so I was just like thinking about it, sitting, and I've been like kind of talking with Scarpa, another brand. They're from Italy, but they're really good at distributing, and they have really nice shoes. They're some of my favorite shoes. And we've been kind of talking back and forth a little bit. And they have some interest in just working with me, very light. And I'm like, cool. So I've decided that I'm going to sell and or donate all of my Mad Rock shoes, and I'm going to replace them with Scarpa shoes because I'm super big on brands, as you know. But that said, because this season, or the next climbing season, is going to be my big project stuff. But that said, speaking of, I don't remember if I told you this, and I definitely didn't say it in the podcast. There's this project that I've been working on kind of a little. I cannot remember the name of it, but it's a 10D. To put a reference, that hard climb at Reimers that I was doing, that was a 10A. And Reimers is apparently graded pretty easy. But at Quartz, it's graded pretty hard. So we were doing this 9D, and it's pretty much just like drywall with small imperfections. I sent it, and it was pretty sick. But I'm probably going to send it again. But this big news because it's just, 10D is probably the hardest I've done outdoors, which means if I can do 10D, it means I can probably do 11As. And that's the goal this year, is to hit 11As lead climbing or sport climbing. So that's big news.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just wanted to bring that up because we really don't talk about climbing stuff, even though that's part of the scheme of nerd culture. But I don't really care to talk about it unless someone else wants it.
Sure.
But yeah, so that's big news. Because the solo projects are coming, we discussed a little bit about you working with me as well. But I wanted to show this on the podcast. I got this big ass thing.
Yes. It is ginormous for people who are aware of rock climbing. Yeah. A little show and tell for the viewers. If you're on YouTube, if you're on listening to a podcast through podcast platforms, you will not be able to see this gigantic whatever it is.
Anyone that's a climber that listens to this, that's listening to the audio, I'm holding a Black Diamond C4 Camelot, a number 5, the purple one, and it's just kind of massive. It's not the biggest ones they make, but the amount of crack climbing and weird shit that I'm doing on trad, this is kind of this is going to be nice because it's it just adds more variety for more protection because I have so many small cams that this is going to be. What are you doing?
I have to sneeze. I'm trying to hold it
in. We can cut for sneeze. Yeah, that was a bit of a tangent, but I'm fairly proud of what I'm doing. But we'll get it. I kind of want to do an entire like climbing episode.
We can.
So if anyone is interested in that, please comment, email, just give us confirmation, and then it'll give us more of an incentive to do it. Because I've been meaning to. Because there's been big ass news in the climbing world right now, but it's like if no one really gives a fuck, then I can just talk about it with you, like not.
Yeah, we just.
Yeah. But anyways, that's not why we're here.
Yeah. In other news, I guess we can talk about it now. After this episode, our next episode, we'll probably put up a vlog and or an outdoors episode because we're going camping.
Yes, we are going camping, and we're gonna have a vlog on our YouTube page, probably some snippets on Instagram. We haven't done TikTok yet. No. We're getting there. And then we're probably gonna do an episode.
Outdoors in the wilderness.
Now, what we're going to talk about is going to be, I don't know.
How to start a fire.
That's going to be in the vlog.
But yeah, so we're going camping. This episode comes out, and then I think that weekend when this episode comes out, we'll be camping. So, yeah,
something like that. I don't have the schedule on the top of my head.
But yeah, so we are here to talk about The Last of Us.
Yes, it's a bit late, but someone wanted us to talk about it, so we're going to talk about it.
Yeah.
What's great about this episode, though, is I can barely remember playing the game, and hell, I don't even remember if I finished it. But I did rewatch the series recently, so it's a good contrast to because you remember the game pretty well. I don't.
Yeah. So for fairness, I watched the show and I played the PS4 remaster. I haven't played The Last of Us Part 1, like the complete rework up that came out for PS5. And I know there are like slight changes in that game, but nothing substantial that affects the show and the contrast between the show and the game.
Sure. Yeah. So when you watched the show, how did you feel in reference to the game's storyline? Did it match? Did it not match?
So the first like 3 or 4 episodes are almost pretty much the game. Like the big difference, episode 1 is there's more emphasis on the outbreak, like 0 Day, and like Joel's daughter and their relationship and why it drives like. It helps emphasize that, which I think the show did better compared to the game. Because the game, you're just like, oh, there's an outbreak. Joel's daughter dies. And, like, you get, like, the whole, like, Joel and Ellie, like, the pseudo father-daughter thing. But it does, I would say it helps drive home, like, his resistance to becoming this, like, father figure to Ellie. But also... like why it means so much to him and like their relationship as a whole. Throughout the series, you do get like how does it start? Why did it start? You know, those like interviews. I like that. I think it's interesting, especially due to the difference. So in the virus, there's spores and they release a gas, and that's how people get infected. In the game, or in the show, it's like a fungi, and there's like roots, and there's they're all interconnected that way, which I do like, you know, and it makes sense. Like the reasoning is they don't want the actors to wear a mask, like a gas mask all the time. You know, you want to see the actor as much as possible.
Cue up Mandalorian.
Fine. Yeah, you know.
Okay, that makes sense. I didn't remember that. So
yeah,
that's interesting.
It's like a fungal spore kind of gas type situation in the game. I think Joel and Ellie their respective actors did phenomenal jobs playing the characters. I was a little.
Oh, I loved it.
I remember starting the show and being a little like Bella Ramsey. I wasn't a huge fan of Bella Ramsey's Ellie at first, but she definitely grew on me, and I think she did a phenomenal job. The changes, like just general changes in the show, I didn't hate for the most part. There's some towards the back end, which we can get into later, that I wasn't the biggest fan of, I guess. but you know, we'll.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When it came to my ends, um, I think I could agree with the whole Ellie thing. There were certain parts that I was just like, okay, like I maybe this actress could have done this, this, and this, but also like she did phenomenal. So it's like I can't really judge or whatever. And also, I'm not a fucking actor. Um, the storyline was great, rather, the storytelling was great.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed. I remember that there wasn't much Frank and Bill in
No.
the game.
So yeah. So episode 3
Yeah,
is Bill and Frank. And in the game, it's literally like you work with Bill. Like you like run into him and he's trying to get you somewhere. I forget exactly. And that you do run into somebody has hung themselves. Like there's a body hanging from a ceiling, and Bill pulls him down, and he's like, I think in the game it's there's only one man stupid enough to wear a shirt like this, and that's Frank. And they don't expand on their relationship at all. You just know that's where you end with Bill in the game, and in the show, you have an entire episode dedicated to them.
yeah, which I enjoyed. I mean, also like my boy Nick Offerman. It's just I love that guy.
Yeah.
But it was cool because like it wasn't it was its own kind of like in some ways kind of a filler,
Mm-hmm.
but the storytelling was good enough to where Joel was implemented into that episode, and so it kind of worked out, especially at the end. Um,
Yeah, it. I think was it needed for the show? No. Was it really well done and like really good? Yes.
yeah, and I usually don't feel that way about fillers. Like I
No.
usually hate all fillers.
Yeah.
One that I also enjoyed, speaking of fillers, is when Ellie went to the mall with what's her bucket.
Yeah. That was DLC in the first game. Um, that was like that was DLC. And it just gives Ellie's backstory, like fleshes it out a little bit more, and like how she got bit. But yeah, I think they put
Yeah,
it like where they put it in the game or in the show was really good.
yeah. Towards the end, you had the mystery for the majority.
Yeah,
Of the,
because there's a hard break there in the game where, like, what happens to Joel's different in the game at that point. Like, you fall as Joel, and then he gets stabbed with barbed wire. And in the show, it's like a broken baseball bat or whatever, I believe. So, yeah, it was different. It was really good. Like I'm not like I don't hate how they treated it. Like I like the version of Joel in the show probably better than the game because Joel in the show is human. He's a human being. He's not a video game player that you're playing as, and there's a bit of a power fantasy there for video games, which
yeah,
is that's video games. You want to you have that power fantasy. You have that you know video game, they do that intentionally, to keep the player engaged. And what they cut from the game, I didn't hate either because most of that's filler stuff to get from one area to another. So
yeah. Something that I enjoyed a lot. I wish they would have done a little bit more of this. They talk about how fucked up Joel's life was after his daughter died because he was trying to survive. But you really don't see that until the episode where I think it's like second to last episode, where he's stabbed and then he's like just coherent enough to go and like try to get to Ellie because she got kidnapped. And when he was interrogating those people, and then he just fucking just murks them, all of them. I'm like, yo.
yeah,
But also, that episode in particular was so fucked up.
yes,
It's a beautiful thing about this show is the most fucked up scenes have zero humans in it, or have zero whatever they're called,
clickers, yeah.
clickers. Yeah,
Yeah, well, it's interesting because like it's a post-apocalyptic world, but the game, the story of the game in the show, realistically, isn't about zombies. It's about the relationships you form due to being in an apocalypse.
sure.
But yeah, Troy Baker is one of the henchmen in episode 9. when Ellie gets kidnapped and deals with the cannibals, he's one of the henchmen, and he voices Joel in the game.
Oh,
So that's
interesting.
cool. And then, fun weird fact: Ellie's mom in episode 10, I think the finale, when she like is being birthed in the house, that is, I forget her name, Ashley something. She voices Ellie in the game. So
That
Ellie's
is
mom
also interesting.
is, yeah. I thought that was a nice little touch, and but yeah. So they did a good
I did
job
not know
of,
any of that.
yeah, bringing them into the game, into the show. But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I want to talk a little bit more about the episode 9 is when she gets kidnapped, right?
I
That's
believe so.
the
I think
episode.
that's
Yeah,
episode 9.
dude, that show. I mean, yeah, that episode was towards the end, especially with like the butcher knife scene and everything,
Yeah.
was so fucked up. And they did a really good job of her like just fucking panicking when she gets out of that house. And then like literally the next episode, she's just like dead quiet. It's really awkward. It's weird. I was like, fuck. I remember I watched that episode for the first time and I was like, I gotta go get a drink.
Yeah.
It was too intense for me.
Yeah, there were two to three moments that I was like, if you're gonna do this right, you gotta have these moments. Is the beginning, which is shot for shot, the outbreak, the town, all of that stuff. Is shot for shot from the game. You know, you needed to set up well. And then it was the giraffe scene was my next big one. Was like the giraffe scene is so important because it emphasizes and shows, you know, that Ellie is a kid. You know, she acts tough. You know, she is tough. She's, you know, staying alive in this, you know, messed up world, but that she's a kid at the end of the day, and there's a reflection of like innocence there. She doesn't know what a giraffe is. She's seeing a giraffe for the first time. Oh my god. You
Oh, like
know.
the car scene too, or
Yeah.
where Joel was like, "Put your seatbelt on," and she was like, "What?"
Yeah, there's like some moments that are really important to emphasize, you know, their relationship, but like their characters respectively as well. And I think they did a really good job of like, you know, these are the important points. These are the points we need to hit home, you know, and some of the other stuff. Like I believe in the game, the middle of the game is where I have the most trouble remembering because it's been a while. Is I don't think there was so much emphasis on, um, was it Kansas City they're in?
Yeah,
Yeah. There's not as much emphasis there, and how the brothers die are different as well. So,
dude, that
but
episode was
that's pretty messed
also
up.
fucking. That was intense,
Yeah.
dude. Also, that I mean, that's what I love about like scenes like that and like episodes because like, in any show, it's like where I'm like I feel distress and shit. It's like cool. You're literally immersing me.
Yeah.
Dude, I felt weird after that one because he like killed his brother and then he was just in shock. And then as soon as he came to, he didn't even,
Yeah.
he just fucking, and I
Yeah.
was like, yo, that's insane.
No. Yeah. And it's that is that is significantly different than the game, if I remember correctly. But they did a really good job. Like everything they changed for the most part, I liked. I even liked the hospital scene because in the game, you as Joel are going to the hospital saving Ellie.
Is it a, can you choose to save her?
No,
Or
you're just. I mean,
just have to?
you're just saving her. That is the decision, and I think they did a really good job of showing the brutality of that moment of Joel. Like, I'm going to save her. You know.
Also, yeah. So let me, let's go back real quick and then I want to talk about the hospital scene. The scene where the fucking infected just like come out of the ground was
That is
so crazy.
Yeah, that is not in the
What's
game.
what's also so stupid. What I didn't like about that episode is the one lady that was like ahead of everything. She knew that was happening. That they showed a scene and then she was like, "That's not our priority." It's like, okay, when will it be? Because this is fucking a problem. And then like she's just looking for one dude. She has like such this crazy vendetta because of her brother, which I get. It sucks. But also like there's something in the ground literally trying to get out. and then that happens, and it's like, oh no, what'd you think was gonna happen? You know,
Yeah.
but
Um,
that I really enjoyed that scene. You could
mhm,
see like a lot of weird, different kinds of
mhm.
infected, like the big ass dude and like the weird contortionist, Soul
Yeah.
Calibur 2 fucking looking thing.
Yeah, and it's interesting, especially when you get into part two. Minor spoilers. One of the big bosses in part two is the Rat King, and it's a bunch of infected rats that have just like typical rat keep type thing. They're all melted together, and you have to run through a hospital. So it's interesting because they're not afraid to like get weird with the infected, which is good because the Rat King is a big moment in part two. But yeah, not to speculate, but part two is probably going to be 2 seasons because there's just so much. That game is so dense, and
I'm hoping they get fucked up with it.
yeah, I have no idea.
That'd be so cool.
There's some really dark moments. Not to get into spoilers because it is relatively fresh, and a lot of people who watch the show may have not played the games, and I'm not gonna ruin anybody else's experience because there's some big moments that happen
I
in that.
mean,
So
yeah. I mean, also, like, I'm one of those people. I never played part 2. Like, when you said the Rat King, and I was like, I don't know what that means.
yeah, um, yeah,
But let's go. Let's go to the hospital
yeah.
scene. I have opinions about that because it's
Mm-hmm.
very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It's they knew who Joel was,
Mm-hmm.
and they were like, and he was like, I need to see her. Like, there had to have been one member in the Fireflies that was like, that's Joel, and he's asking what? Yeah, that's probably gonna happen either way, dude. Like, and then of
Yeah,
course, it's like I looked up how many people he killed prior to the hospital scene,
yeah.
and it's a significant amount of people. And then so he, like, yeah, I was like, even when the first time that I watched it, I was like, he's getting up there. And he's probably gonna kill everyone in that motherfucker. And then lo and behold, he killed everyone in that motherfucker.
Yeah, like I like the dilemma, right? Like the big cliffhanger, which is how the game ends as well, is Joel lying to her, right? Which probably would have done the same thing. Like, and I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with that. There's definitely something wrong with killing like 100 people in a hospital to save your.
I mean, yeah, that's
Yeah,
that's a whole dilemma we could do on. We could have an entire other episode for it because
yeah.
it's like saving one life, but like,
Dooming humanity essentially.
yeah, dooming humanity, but like, or just let it happen
Hmm.
and you save the world.
Yeah,
But it's also one of those things of like, I mean, like, in if I had to deal with everything that he went through, like, would you want the world to be saved?
and that's the good of humanity. Is yes, you would despite where we're at, you would want humanity to get back to some semblance of normal, but the realist and the reality is, you know, the old Captain America. We don't trade lives. Infinity War. But it's just,
Yeah,
um, you know, I'd probably do the same thing. Would I kill 100 people and be able to kill 100 people in a hospital? No. But I would, do what I could to stop that from happening. You know,
yeah. I
just
mean, like, what we've done in our lives and what we're capable of is, not that. But
yeah,
I mean, if we had like a couple like ticks on our belts because it's apocalyptic and we have to do it,
mm-hmm.
and then like I think we could do it if we. But yeah, that's the whole thing. Because also it's one of those things like you can't, because if you answer too quick, that it's bad, right? Like, no,
Yeah.
I could do that. It's like you could kill 100 people. That's murder, dude.
I mean, sure, you could kill 100 people, but also you have to deal with the ramifications of killing 100 people
Yeah.
and the fallout of that. But
I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that scene. I also was reading into it, and Apparently, it was confirmed maybe in the game. I don't remember where this said, but Ellie knew that he was lying.
That is more of a part two thing.
Hmm.
And not to tread in that water yet, but yeah, there's the idea that she's kind of aware that he, you know, you don't go across the country, murdering people and dealing what they going through what they went through just to be like, damn, that sucks. You weren't, you know, there were other people and none of them else worked and you didn't either. Like I get he was lying to protect her. That's like the whole bit, right? Is he thought by lying to her he would protect her, but in reality, he probably did more harm than good.
Yeah.
So, but that's you know.
I think. I mean, to be honest, I think from there, that's everything. I mean,
Yeah.
those are. I hit every point that I really wanted to hit. I loved the show. I loved the writing. I loved the acting.
I will say, from a live action standpoint, this is the best video game adaptation that we've had. Um, it you
Yeah, I can agree
can't
with that.
you know translate everything
What about
right
no? Okay,
from a
so
video game.
I could argue that the live action Mario movie. Did you watch that back in the 90s?
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. No, I agree with you.
Yeah, I think it's in good hands. Um, and I think for what they've talked about, they have no interest in the gap in between part one and part two because there's, I think, like a 5-year time jump or something like that. They have no need and reason to fill in that gap because most of it gets explained in part two anyway. And they are interested in doing a part two and doing it well, but again, you need probably 2 seasons to do that because you're playing as multiple characters. There's a much bigger
So
story, but
I have a question, and for those listening, if you really don't want, if I'm correct about with what I'm about to ask, this is an extremely big spoiler. So
yes,
just
if you
skip
know,
ahead like 30 seconds. Does Joel die
yes,
in part two? Okay, cool. That's what I thought. I've watched some of part two.
right at the beginning.
Okay, yeah, that's what I remember.
Yeah,
So if anyone's
yeah,
pissed about that, they just got that spoiled. Well, play the game. It's old.
yeah. It's a few years old now. Yeah, it's the ramifications of the hospital stuff. So
Gotcha.
yeah,
Hmm.
but I would suggest we could do like a playthrough of it, of part two because I want to. I've never beaten part two because the game is so uh, just immersive is the best way to put it. Like I can only play it for like 45 minutes to an hour at a time because I'm just like so stressed out all the time of just like I don't know what's around this corner. I am low on ammo. I'm not good at the melee system in this game. I don't know what's going to happen, and you're just like
Okay.
which is interesting for me
I
because I like those games for the most part. So,
I have so I don't like horror games all that much, but I'll do a poll for anyone listening. So do I'll need either in the email or on our Instagram or on our YouTube channel, comment who wants to see this, wants to watch us play this, and who is going to be the controller of the game. Because yeah, and we'll pin it at September. So it gives it people plenty of time, and then if this episode gets enough views, audio wise and digital wise, and enough people vote, we'll do it for Halloween. I think that'll be the poll.
it's a long game.
Yeah, we'll do it for all of October.
Like it's a long game. But yeah, no, that's fine. But yeah, I'm super down to doing it for the viewers and stuff like that. Or we can just do it offline. It's not the end of the world. I have to figure out how to set OBS up and all that stuff for it anyway. So, but yeah, so I think that's it. The changes for the most part are pretty good. Like Tessa's death is a little different in the game compared to the show. The clickers, she dies by a bunch of clickers in the game instead of or she dies by a bunch of army people in the game. In the show, it's clickers, I believe.
Dude, that scene was disgusting.
Yeah. And then
I watched that and I like dry heaved. It was bad. I hated it, dude.
there isn't as much emphasis in Kansas City in the game, if I remember right. That's my issue is right there. The Ellie, like pretty much everything else is like almost like there are literally scenes that are shot for shot from the game in this show, and there's like dialogue that's just landed perfectly. So yeah, I think it's the best you can get realistically, without.
I think it's a
being
phenomenal
shot for
show.
shot. And why would you do a shot for shot live action show when you have the game? You know.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10.
Yeah, I think my initial, like coming off of the show, I think I was giving it 8.5 out of 10, and I will sit by that. It's good. It has me at the edge of my seats despite knowing the story, and I really enjoyed it.
Cool. Yeah, I enjoyed it as well. I'm probably gonna watch it for a third time at some point.
Mm-hmm.
It's super good. I'm excited to see what they're gonna go with it.
Yeah, and again, if you don't want anything spoiled about season 2 of the show and what happens in part 2, I'm surprised you haven't yet. Do not watch our playthrough of that game if it happens.
Yeah, and then you probably should have skipped ahead on this.
If you heard that part, damn.
Well, then you should probably play the game. But anyways, thanks for listening.
Yeah, we are going to do 2 YouTube exclusive reviews for the Super Mario Brothers movie and The Little Mermaid. We don't have a lot to talk about them, so we're just going to just throw those up on YouTube. They'll be pretty short.
Yeah. If you want to see, so we're going to add a little twist to the YouTube stuff. If you enjoy that, leave a comment and we might do more of it, but it just depends. We'll see where it goes. If you like that, then just like comment anything that you want. But if you have any suggestions for like shows, games, TV shows, anything nerd culture related, email us at themagicofcoffee@gmail.com or comment on YouTube or Instagram. I check the Instagram pretty regularly. And then we'll work on putting it on the show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. Well, that is our show. Thanks for listening.
See you later.